try to be very intentional as I'm planning for the week's topic. In planning for the topic, I always think of things or issues that I personally work through, because it's easier for me to talk about those things, and I can provide you with the tools and skills that you need to apply them now. I remember when my husband and I first started dating a few years ago. He was living in New York and I was here in California. Early on, I was clear on me not wanting to have a long distance relationship. And I told him, and I was very clear on, I'm not open to moving to New York. Therefore, you have to be open to moving to California. I didn't give him any hard deadlines or hard dates, but I was clear on my needs. And a few weeks into our relationship, I realized that I had trust issues, that I had issues with intimacy. And one of the biggest indicators of that was me hacking into his Instagram. And I know that's funny now, but it was not funny in the moment because, one, we almost broke up before we were even a thing. And two, it was stemming from my fears. It was stemming from my insecurities. I was fearful of rejection, of abandonment, while my desire was really to build trust and genuine connection. But friends, no need to worry. Clearly, we're married and we are doing just fine now. I'm not saying our marriage is perfect, but I've done a lot of work on myself, as has he, in reflecting on what were the skills that I had to implement to be able to work through my trust issues. I realized there were 4 steps that I took. You ready? Let's get started. One of the things that I had to work on was learning to be more emotionally intelligent. There are 7 basic emotions, which are fear, anger, joy, sadness, contempt, disgust, and surprise. And in a study conducted with college students, most of them were not even able to identify 3. Therefore, it shows there is a need for us to expand our emotional vocabulary. Friends, there are 32,000 emotions. That is a ton of emotions. So being able to expand your emotional vocabulary is so important. Why? I'm glad you asked. Because when we don't identify our emotions properly, we limit expressing ourselves. And when we mislabel an emotion, we change our experience of them. So for example, let's say I were to say I am feeling angry versus I am feeling furious. It's very different. If I always group my being furious into anger, I'm going to think that those two are the same emotions when in fact they are not. So expanding my emotional vocabulary was so helpful in me being able to work through my own trust issues. Number 2, learning to acknowledge my emotion. So not just recognizing, yes, it's important to know that it's there, but acknowledging the emotion is much different. For example, when I have learned to identify the proper emotion, then I'm going to acknowledge it and say, I am feeling sad. I am feeling angry. I am feeling furious. Acknowledging the emotion that you are experiencing right now without judging it. Simply saying, I am feeling blank. So acknowledging it in a non-judgmental way will help you be able to endure that emotion, to be able to feel that emotion. If you're feeling sad or if you're feeling down, don't judge yourself. Don't say, oh, I'm so weak. Oh, I'm so blank because I'm feeling this way. Simply acknowledge the emotion. I am feeling blank without judgment. Number 3 is allow the emotion. Do not suppress it. Friends, If you are not allowing an emotion, I promise you it will come up. Practice allowing that emotion and create validating statements that will help you allow that emotion. For example, I am feeling furious. Me having an expanded vocabulary was the step one to be able to identify that I was feeling, in fact, furious, and then acknowledging it by saying simply, in a non-judgmental way, I am feeling furious, and then allowing that emotion is step number 3 by saying this emotion is temporary. It will pass. I am allowed to feel this. This emotion is uncomfortable and it won't hurt me. And lastly is understanding where those emotions stem from. Trying to create a context for why you're feeling that way. Where does this emotion stem from? Most of us don't try to understand why we're feeling that way. And that is why therapy is so important, because that is something that you could explore with your therapist. For example, in the situation with my husband, I realized that it's no wonder that I felt he was gonna betray me, because I didn't feel worthy of him being loved. And that was only because I processed this. I have explored this feeling. I have explored where those feelings of unworthiness came from, where those feelings of abandonment came from. And I've worked through them. Do they come up? Of course. But not as much as before. And now I have these 4 steps to be able to implement them and overcome my trust issues and be able to build that genuine connection and intimacy. If you found this video helpful, please share it with someone. And please remember to like my channel and subscribe so you could get notified when I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next week.